Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the burn, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show, Bet River sponsors. It's time to start, enjoy the show.
Welcome in, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is Tuesday, the 10th of June. You're with Steve Wyss and Lewis Jones. Plenty on the slate today. World Cup qualifying across the globe. High-profile, glorified friendlies, the lot. Lewis, this is a very, very exciting time of year for bettors, for followers of international soccer. How have you been keeping?
Yes, all good, Steve. Yeah, not quite as enthusiastic as you, I don't think, regarding this this period of international meaningless games that we really don't need in the schedule, in my opinion. But there's plenty of horse racing on, Steve, isn't there? There's been the Royal Ascot's on the horizon, so we can get enthusiastic about that. And I was at Epsom last week for the 2 days at the Derby, so it's been good to sort of switch off on football a little bit. But I understand there is huge demand still for football throughout the summer, so. There's a few good games to get stuck into today. I'm really looking forward to a game in South America this evening involving Bolivia and Chile. That's got a lot on the line. Really looking forward to sharing some views on that. And obviously, we're going to talk England as well after their lackluster display last time out against Andorra, which everyone got a little bit carried away with. I think, did it really matter? I don't think so. All that matters is Thomas Tuchel getting that team ready for 6 weeks in the summer next week, in next year in America. So a little bit was read too much into that, I believe. And yeah, there's bets to be had, and we will find them, as I'm sure you've got a few to share today as well.
Yeah, that's all I was hearing in the pub on Saturday night about England, how bad England are, etc., etc., etc. I mean, for goodness sake, it was completely overblown. But yeah, we've got a whole section on England. Don't you worry. England against Senegal is a big friendly today. Welcome in Rick Haley, Ming Chung, Duncan Evans, real Brandon King as well. That he was expecting a more lavish background after your PSG win. Congratulations on getting them, by the way, at the biggest price that they were in the whole tournament on that future.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's a real bet. One of my betting highlights actually in my life, actually following that team and jumping on at prices you just don't expect to get with teams that good. I don't think I ever get that opportunity again. I think to back a team that good at 22-1 and then again at 16-1 before they played Liverpool in the second leg. So, great ride, excellent returns, and hopefully people took some of the advice when I was shouting them from the rooftops at 22-1 and 16-1 after Liverpool. So, yeah, it was a good result. But you can't learn many times in this game. You can't linger. You can't rest on your laurels, can you? You've got to go find the next one if you can. So it's more or less back to work straight away to try and find some more gold lurking here and there. But yeah, that was a definitely highlight of my season following that PSG team. I didn't really have many worries throughout. Really, once they got put through Liverpool, even though they rode a bit of a storm against Aston Villa, even in the final against Inter, I didn't hedge or trade any of it off because I was so confident in this team of doing the business. So yeah, brilliant team, and I'm sure I'll be very positive towards them in the summer as well. If they're going to go full strength in the Club World Cup, they're going to have a great chance there as well, I thought.
Yeah, I've backed them myself 8-1 for that Club World Cup. And if you're after some more futures from Lewis, Friday we are going to be previewing that Club World Cup. Lewis is going to be on the show. Tournament preview on Betting Weekly Live, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Meninda, good to see you as well. And Foxy. Now, yesterday, biggest bet on the soccer was a loser, sadly, nearly $18,000. Italy versus Moldova, over 3 Asian goals. Italy sadly did in Italy. They got 2-0 up, and that was it. They had enough. So that was unfortunately a loser. Biggest bet that we had on the sportsbook, $21,000 on the Oilers money line at plus 128 against the Panthers. That was a loser as well, sadly. Biggest winner I can find, nearly $18,000 on the Pirates money line at minus 116 against the Marlins. That was a winner. There was plenty of action on that Italy game. Another loser, $6,000 over 1.5 first half goals at evens. So that match didn't really go down too well. And £6,000 was lost on the Faroe Islands against Gibraltar, under 2.5 goals live. That went over the mark. Staggering numbers for a Faroe Islands game, it must be said. But do you know what you mentioned there, Lewis? Sometimes these qualifiers don't get you that excited. I look at them as potential to get winners. It's like, would you rather back the winner in the Epsom Derby, or would you rather have a winner in a Class D at Pontefract? They both count the same.
No, it's very true. It's whichever the easier one to find is the one I would say, the one that takes less work. I think probably develops the biggest value. That's what I found. I think if I can, the winners normally find me. I found in this day and age. You go looking too hard, I think that's when you overcomplicate matters. So I do like the ones that the older and wiser I get, the less I trust. I try to trust my gut. I'm not sure if you're the same as me, Steve. It's like you get a feel for a bet when you think a price is wrong, as you've been doing this for such a long time. I did have a think about this the other day, actually, about that. And every time I seem to overanalyze a game or look too deep into it, that's when I know that the angle isn't there. I'm not sure if that's something you do as well.
Yeah, that's true. I think the older you get, sometimes you're right. You don't want to put, for example, I kind of park domestic cups a bit. I don't really bet on domestic cups as much now because they take much more work to find out who's going to be in the team, etc., especially across the continent. So, FA Cup's a little bit different perhaps over here, but I know what you're coming from.
The show just turned into a poor man's dojo there for a minute there, didn't it?
I know. We've got to crack on with some bets, haven't we?
Yeah,
Duncan Evans is absolutely right. Both teams score, yes, in the Belgium match last night. That was an incredible game.
What a game, yeah, unbelievable.
That was, that was the best qualifying game I've seen in a long time. Not many qualifying games are very good because there's mismatches or tight. That was really good. I've got to say, credit both teams.
Absolutely, yeah. Wales have they've got something about them actually under Bellamy. I think they've got some. They've always had spirit. Whenever you play a Welsh team in Cardiff, you realise that. But I think this team maybe now they can go to places like Belgium and give a good account of themselves, and to come back from 3-0 down to 3-3 was a hell of an achievement with some of those players in the Belgium ranks. So really, you probably have to give Wales a lot of respect now moving forward in that qualification campaign, and I'm sure they'll be looking forward to the reverse fixture. They'll be wanting to put one on them in Cardiff, I can imagine. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Wales qualify actually through that group.
Yeah, that was a really good winner. I was on Croatia as well yesterday. The Norway match did let me down. SW is reminding me there. And I got carried away. All they need to do now is just win their games. It doesn't matter how many they win by, really. They got the goal difference. And I got sucked into that trap. Should have had more goals, but 1-0s will do absolutely fine for Norway now in qualifying. World Cup qualifying Europe then today. Lewis, I think you are going to keep your palate dry in this section, but I can't help myself. I've mentioned it before on these live shows. When the Minnows play their second game in a week, I just think they really do struggle. So I'm looking at the likes of Malta, Andorra. We'll come to them in a minute. Specifically on here, San Marino, who incredibly just lost 1-0 away to Bosnia. And they've often done this before. The first game of the match day, they put up a good fight. That's a sensational fight. I think they're a +4 underdog. But now against Austria at home, and goal difference doesn't matter in these qualifying groups, by the way. So it's well worth, the effort for some of these teams who might be on the brink of qualification to rack up the score. And the handicap on Austria, -3.5 on the Asian line at -137. I think that's a bet here. The last time in the previous round, Romania beat the San Marino 5-1 away from home. Incredibly, San Marino scored. So they scuppered to nil backers. It's very, very unlikely that San Marino will score again here. But Austria should be getting at minimum a 4-0 win, probably 5 or 6. Goal difference matters in these groups, mate. So I always like to oppose these minnows in the second round of the matches. You got any thoughts on these sides in qualifying? A lot of people do tend to avoid them, just don't want to get involved.
Yeah, I usually do avoid them, but with the lack of fixtures on the horizon, just in terms of what you would call competitive ones today, and these are competitive matches per se. The way I like to get against the minnows in these situations, instead of trusting big goal handicaps, you don't really know the motivation of teams to really put a score on a team. I rather just look at the under corner lines for the minnows. Sometimes they don't mirror the data, because these teams are barely winning one or two corners in these mismatches, and sometimes the lines can take a bit of a while to really hit the true price when they're priced up originally. And there's a couple of matches. I mean, the San Marino one stands out. I haven't got the prices to hand at the moment, but I would encourage punters to have a look at the minnows facing where the odds, the money lines are absolutely insane. They're underdogs beyond belief. Just kind of look at their under corner lines, because sometimes you can get a price which is with a little bit of value there. That's the way I normally take to play these the minnows against the big side. I think England, the perfect example of that was the other day. England, I think they were obviously won 1-0, but I don't think Andorra won a corner. I think it was so under 0.5 corners landed, and I do think that was odds. I think it was easily. I think it was odds against, without doubt. So sometimes you can find a really interesting corner angle where these teams are just going to sit in and hope not to get battered. So there's not going to be many opportunities for them to attack. So yeah, a little bit of a guys into my brain, I suppose, about how I look at these minnows when they play the bigger teams. But yeah, I can definitely see your angle with San Marino there. I mean, that does make sense just from the fact their second game, the minnows, in a week. They're not used to playing these games, are they, back to back against such high level opposition? So if they are going to fall behind early, you can tell the legs probably would go in the second half, and this is where the goal handicaps come into play. So yeah, definitely can see those angles, Steve.
Yeah, what they tend to do, these minnows, they put all their eggs into one basket in the first match, give it a good go, and for them, to only lose 1-0 at Bosnia, that's a brilliant result. But you do wonder what they've got left in the tank. Finland, Poland, be careful of Poland here. I think there's been a fallout in the camp. Lewandowski's been at odds with the coach. Finland haven't been offering much recently, so a lot of people would want to oppose Finland, but Poland not in particularly great shakes. Romania desperately need a win there against Cyprus, by the way. Just lost Romania against Austria. They've now suffered 2 defeats out of 3. Cyprus weren't in action, not in competitive action. A few days ago. I'd imagine Romania should have enough, but there's a lot of pressure on their shoulders. That isn't a handicap I probably want to get involved in. But for those who are interested, Romania are minus 1.25 a line. Serbia, Andorra. This is an interesting one because Andorra often do keep games close. But I mean, that was like their cup final against England, wasn't it, Lewis? Really. So Serbia have become under kings in international soccer, and I'm not sure why. They've got so many attacking weapons like Mitrovic and Vlahovic and things like that. Their handicap is minus 2.5 at minus 125. That might be something I'll be looking possibly at half time, seeing what sort of state Andorra are looking there. But they do have a knack of keeping it close. Netherlands, Malta, there is a house special with Bet Rivers here. Memphis Depay and Virgil van Dijk both to score or record an assist. Plus 350 if you like that particular bet. I think this could be a really big beating myself, and the Netherlands minus 3.25 on the Asian line looks a good bet to me at minus 127. Malta have just had a 0-0 draw against Lithuania. They were I think the slight favourite in that game, actually, which is unusual for Malta. But this is a tough test for them away from home against one of the big dogs in Europe. And again, I mentioned this point, goal difference does matter with the FIFA qualifiers, not with the Euro qualifiers. The FIFA qualifiers, goal difference is a factor. So for me, the two best bets on that card for Europe, Netherlands minus 3.25 on the Asian, and Austria minus 3.5 on the Asian line, minus 137. These are caps that I would hardly ever normally get involved in normal soccer, but this is international. Minnows involved. I cannot help myself in that one. Just having a look at some of the comments. FGA Football, welcome in, and Harry Doherty as well. Byron, good to see it. Draw for the Finland game, says FGA Football. That could happen. I think Finland will, often quite defensive, aren't they? And Poland might lack. Depends what sort of state the Lewandowski situation goes into. It could be a draw. And Byron is liking Cyprus corners. That's an interesting angle, Byron. Didn't realise that corners were a thing with them. England win to 0. I think that might be Nigel. Plus 115. Serbia have loads of good players, but flattered to deceive. That could be an explanation there. There's a lot talking about the England-Senegal game, so we're going to come on to that one now. But that Cyprus bet +3 corners at +120, and we will move, as I say, to England-Netherlands now, because this is the biggest high-profile friendly of the day. England -225 favourites, Senegal 6-1, and the tie +330. I mean, Senegal are one of the best teams in Africa. I don't know in terms of world ranking where they are exactly, but they'll be up there in terms of the African nations. Over 2.5 goals is -124. Both teams to score, yes, is odds against here, Lewis. England, obviously to only beat Andorra 1-0 is not good enough. It is not. I know the result is all that matters, but England should be beating Andorra by more. We always get this with England, whoever's the manager. If England don't win by enough, there's a big negative media reaction, social reaction, everything. And what often happens is the next game, England deliver. But do these players even want this, Lewis? That's my problem. There's not much left in these players. Do need a break, I think. But what sort of game are we going to get here? History might suggest that England react. Don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, let's just say this was fast forward 12 months and this was a World Cup, I don't know, group game, last 16, you'd be all over England, no problem. And these prices, you'd be looking to get a lot of the England props on side. You'd be looking to try to exploit probably the corner handicap, everything, because the golfing quality between the two teams is still very big. I know Senegal have got some very exciting developing players. Nicholas Jackson plays some, obviously he'll probably play tonight. Ismail Yassar's had a great season for Palace. Iliman Ndiaye is a fantastic player for Everton. On his day can really light up a match. But just in terms of organisation and structure and the way the team is just set up in terms of knockout football, etc., in big tournaments, you would favour England. But this isn't a World Cup. This isn't a knockout match. This is an international friendly in June. Couldn't be in the worst possible slot for these players who have gone to the camp with England here. And I think you have to factor that into your analysis of the game when you're pricing this up. And there probably isn't. Actually, no, I definitely don't think it's been factored enough into the prices here, because I don't think England are going to be anywhere near at their best here again. It's going to be a similar performance levels, I would suggest, to Andorra in terms of intensity, in terms of the will to win. It's not an opportunity for them to put themselves on all out on the line. They need to rest some legs, some of these players, and it's going to be the definition of a friendly match, I think, this one. And I think when a team is this overwhelmingly favoured in the market, that motivation levels have to be questioned. I think you have to have a look at pro Senegal angles here. I think they're a good enough side to make this a game, I think, actually. And the way I'm looking to play this is the both teams to score there. I know it flashed up on the screen. Is it +104, Steve? Was it? That's a +104. Yeah, I think that's a really nice bet, actually, at odds against. I think this is obviously probably a bigger game for Senegal than England, just in terms of the prestige of playing England, and there's quite a lot of familiar faces that are going to want to make a name for himself here. And I have question marks still about this England, what I would say, spine, centre-back, defensive midfielder. I know they haven't conceded in their last 5 internationals, but I do think there's a vulnerability there still when they come up against a decent side, and Senegal are a decent side. And I do think this area, this centre-back, holding midfield role area, is just going to be the area that's going to hold England back when it comes to the major tournaments, when it comes to the World Cup next year. Because every team that goes well at major tournaments needs a dominant and world-class number 6 that just sits in front of the back 4 and just puts out fires. Every team that wins a big tournament has that. England have Declan Rice, of course, but he's not a defensive midfielder anymore. He's not a number 6. We've seen that for Arsenal. He is an incredible player moving forward with the ball in that number 8 role. So it's going to be hard for him to switch back to that 6 role for England, I think, to play a completely different role in high stakes football matches down the line. So really got question marks over England defensively, the centre backs as well. What's going to be the partnership at the World Cup next year? I mean, it's so hard to predict, and that is not a good place to be in as a manager, I don't think, when you haven't got a settled back, especially the 2 centre-backs, international football. You need to have that solid base. I mean, you've been playing, Consul, developing player? Yeah. Mark Gay, developing as well. He's a very, very good player, but both of them lack real sort of high quality experience. Dan Burn's been playing there. I mean, he's looked very, very ropey, I think, since Tuchel's been giving him a go. Love the player. I think he's had a fantastic career and I've got a lot of time for him. But is he really going to be an England starting centre-back at a World Cup? So I think Senegal can cause problems tonight. I think it could be Chalobah and Colwill that start centre-backs tonight. Definitely think that Senegal have got that sort of attacking nous to get on the score sheet in a game that really doesn't matter for England. I mean, Nicholas Jackson has got his faults, hasn't he? But he's a very good operator playing that lone striker role, makes a lot of good movements. And as I mentioned, Sarr and Ndiaye, they've got enough here to get on the score sheet. So I think the way in is to both teams to score bet here at odds against. I think it just stands out like a sore thumb in a game that England aren't going to be that motivated for. And Senegal are going to give it a go, and they've got a lot of dangerous attacking weapons. You see where I'm coming from, Steve, for that? What do you think about the England sort of the centre-back and that number 6 role? I've got real doubts moving forward about they've got to find someone to play that 6 role, otherwise they're going to get opened up a lot at the top level, I think.
Oh, there's a big 12 months ahead for Thomas Tuchel, isn't there? He's got to get the right blend of players. He needs some players to get a bit better in the next 12 months as well. We've got an option here. I mean, there's plenty of talking chat about goalkeeper debate. Henderson versus Pickford. Henderson going to be in goal tonight, apparently. I mean, to be fair, Pickford, I don't think he's ever really let England down. But I do get some of these Henderson points because Hendo has been mightily impressive this season. If it was, if they'd never played before, just say, you probably would start Henderson, wouldn't you? It's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's a good debate to have, I think as you rightly say, and that's Pickford has never let England down when it's mattered, which is unusual to say that for an England goalkeeper over the years because they've all had their massive ricks in big games in tournament football. And Pickford hasn't. He's actually stood up and made the difference on a number of occasions, which one will come, won't it? That's the thing with Pickford. There is going to be a big howler, and hopefully it comes in a game where it doesn't mean England go out of a tournament, etc. But Pickford and Henderson, it's a decent debate. I would definitely go with Pickford still as the goalkeeper, just because of his experience at international level. He is a bit overzealous and a bit sort of too vocal. I think he can be a little bit too excitable, but he seems to be able to just rein it in when he plays for England. And yes, so he's never let England down before. But it'll be interesting to see how Henderson does tonight. And I think that's probably another angle if he starts for why Senegal might get on the score sheet just because of the change in goalkeeper. I mean, I don't think he's too much of a downgrade, but he's going to be wanting to impress. And sometimes goalkeepers can make sort of rash decisions when they've got their chance to impress, especially in a game where England are probably going to have a lot of the ball. So no Pickford, I would suggest tonight is actually another positive for that both teams to score shout.
Under 2.5 cards, says Nigel, -125, and no cards 8-1. I mean, these friendlies. I've got an interesting debate later when we talk about Mexico-Turkey, actually. But I mean, these friendlies often can be low with cards, can't they? Just depends on the field. If there's like a random spicy moment, a friendly match can explode, can't it? But it's more likely there won't be many cards, partly because players, are not on long enough to accumulate fouls, for example, on the field.
Yeah, you need to look at the referee as well in these situations. I think you need to look at his past record in international friendlies because some are incredibly lenient when it comes to these fouls that can break up play that normally would be a yellow card, and he takes it a little bit easier in this situation. So have a look at the referee tonight and draw some of his data from previous international friendlies. And if he's going under a lot there, then Nigel could be onto something there.
You've got a player prop for the game as well, in addition to both teams to score. Yes, you mentioned Jackson there. Yeah, he is the man you're going to look at here.
Yeah, +140 shot on target. Really like this as well. Actually, going to be backing both of these tonight, both teams to score and the Jackson shot on target. I just think England's vulnerability at centre back, I think, is going to be exposed here actually by a very, very good player. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, is he? He's very erratic. He's very raw, isn't he? And he possesses two things you don't want from a striker. He's offside a lot, and he also misses big chances. So they're the two things you really don't want to have in a top class centre forward. But he's a very clever centre forward in terms of his movement and gets into those positions where he can fire shots on target. Perfect example of that was the goal in the Conference League final where he got into the position and he'd scored the goal, but he didn't mean to score it with his chest. I mean, he tried to head it home, didn't he? And he sort of chested Palmer's cross into them. But that's just the type of player he is. He's a bit sort of erratic with his finishing, but he gets into positions and he's very good at playing this lone striker role. And I think England are going to probably try and play with a bit more freedom tonight. So that's going to leave them a little bit more exposed on the counter-attack. And I can see him getting a shot on target in this game, Jackson. He's had 5 shots on target in his last 4 starts during competitive qualifying for Senegal. And just look at his data from Chelsea this season. He's averaging 1.2 shots on target per game across all competitions. So again, we're getting above the key 1 per game line and getting a plus money shot here in a game, which I think should be played quite an open field. And Senegal are definitely got enough going forward to cause England issues. So I just think the obvious play is to play the centre forward to have a shot on target at plus 140.
Nicholas Jackson is plus 390 to score anytime for those who are interested. A player who possibly scored the worst ever hat-trick in history against 9-man Spurs that day. And you're right, some of his goals are not even intentional goals. But for a shot on target, plus 140. And the referee for this match is Stephanie Frappard, the French referee, who, I'll be honest with you, when she first came onto the scene, I thought she was one of the best refs in France, actually. But and she was even given, I think, the Super Cup final. But the introduction of VAR and stuff, I think, has really downgraded some referees. They don't referee the game as they should do. I've seen her lose control of a few matches in the last certainly the last couple of seasons. So you never know what you're going to get with Stephanie Frappard. Okay, let's just have a look at some of the comments. Senegal have not lost in the last 23 games. Is that true, Tristan? Didn't actually
That's
know
right,
that.
yeah. 23-game unbeaten run across all competition. I think that's including their penalty shootout defeat to Ivory Coast in the final. Was it the Africa Cup of Nations final? So they're unbeaten in 23 games in normal time, if that makes sense. But they did lose that game on penalties, the final. So again, they're a team that aren't used to losing, and they're going to come here and want to probably keep that intact. I mean, they nearly lost. I think they drew 1-1 with Ireland last weekend, or in what day are we? Was it weekend? I can't remember. A few days ago, and they got a late equaliser, Ismail Assar, to keep that unbeaten run. I think afterwards, it sort of they mentioned in the fallout afterwards, they said it was quite actually a big goal for them just to keep that unbeaten run going. So they're very aware of it. So that'd be something which will probably be on their minds tonight. So yeah, they probably are the second best team in Africa. So yeah, they're definitely giving them the game tonight, and they'll create chances. So just think we just got to be on that side of the fence when it comes to Senegal tonight in terms of their attacking quality going forward. And I just want to back them, I think, Steve.
Interesting stat from producer Troy. England have never lost to an African side. 15 wins and 6 draws. And there is 99% of the money on England on the money line for this game, with 98% of the tickets. If you're in that 2% bracket, then I think that's interesting. You never know. Here,
if someone gave me a free £100 to play here, Steve, I'd put it on Senegal. I would. I wouldn't put it on England. And I think that's we're at this stage of the season where this game does not matter for England. A lot of those players, they'll be saying they want to prove themselves, etc. They'll be thinking, I just want to get off this pitch and get on my holiday and rest up for the next season and put my club first before these meaningless friendlies. So yeah, if someone gave me a free bet tonight, I would rather back Senegal at a bigger price. I think probably it's going to mean more to them than England. And again, playing away from Wembley, does that help England? It's probably going to be tough to generate an atmosphere at the City Ground. I would have thought when they take these games away from Wembley, even though Wembley doesn't exactly generate the really sort of raucous atmosphere. But yeah, I just think there's enough here tonight, I think, just to fade England at those prices. And my angle attack is to back both teams to score. But if you wanted to back Ivory Coast Senegal, double chance, or even have a swing at them on the outright, I would not put you off. And cool, yeah, it could be some really interesting questions for Tuchel to answer if they sort of meander to another poor performance. But I say I'm not too worried. It all matters next summer for Tuchel, how he gets the team ready then and picks his squad and gets them set up. I think these matches are all going to be a little bit overblown, but that's what the media have to do. We have to make a story out of things, don't we? So and everyone seems to love having a debate about England. So if the demand is there for an opinion, then we're going to scratch the surface and make sure people are talking about it. So, yeah, hopefully England obviously in a good spot for the World Cup next summer, but this game doesn't matter, I don't think, Steve.
Senegal plus 650 on the money line and plus 165 on the double chance. You're right, of course, it's at the City Ground. The atmosphere there normally resembles a Christmas song, doesn't it? Rather than we're in the middle of summer now. But yeah, there's a house special for this game, by the way, for those interested. Harry Kane and Cole Palmer, both to score or assist, plus 340. For those who are interested in that house special. Okay, we're going to move to World Cup qualifying South America, and one match in particular catches both of our eyes here, and it's the top game. Do put your best bets in chat for South American qualifying. With some difficult fixtures, but Bolivia-Chile definitely does stick out. Every time we get Bolivia at home, the same spiel has to be read out. And the main factor here, of course, is the altitude. We are playing at El Alto, which is 4,150 meters high. That's effectively 13,600 feet. This is, this is an astonishing factor to consider. How do you price this in? I had Will White on the show, I think, back in October, trying to factor it in. And he said it's one of the biggest adjustments he had to make in terms of international soccer. Some call it inhumane to have to play at such altitudes. Bolivia at minus 136. It's a must-win game for them. I think they're a bet here, Lewis. I really do. And you're going to be agreeing here, and you also down the corner angle.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Steve. I actually would make it one of the biggest home advantages in world football. I think you do have to factor it in that much. And when you roll onto your argument, the fact this is a team that's got everything to play for here in Bolivia against a team with nothing to play for, I would make that price shorter. Actually, I'm surprised we can get that sort of price. I'm not one to really pile into to prices around that short, but if that's your thing tonight, I would be all over Bolivia, I think, here, because they need to win, don't they, to keep their hopes of qualifying for the World Cup alive. 3 games left, I think, in qualifying, and they really need to win this game to keep their hopes up. And they're just so strong at home. This altitude thing is absolutely relevant to the way that teams struggle to play there. They've taken it up a level since moving to El Alto, didn't they? They've taken, I think it's gone up another 1,000 meters above sea level since going there. So the altitude factor is even more.
La Paz wasn't high enough for them. So
exactly,
they thought they needed even more of an advantage. So
and why not? More. It's the higher the altitude, the higher the edge in your favour. So I can totally see where they're coming from. And they're exploiting it, aren't they? I mean, really good form at home. Beat Venezuela 4-0, and then they ended Colombia's 26 match unbeaten run with only 10 men as well at home, which is a hell of a result. And then they lost at home to Paraguay, but they dominated the stats and the XG figures there. And then I don't know how they didn't manage to beat Uruguay at home in their last fixture. I mean, I was on them to win that day, and I could not believe they didn't find a way through. I mean, they won the XG battle 1.84 to 0.6. And I think the corner count, I got it down here somewhere. How many did they? They won.
I've got the stats here for you, Lewis.
16. They won 16 corners in that match and drew 0-0. That's how dominant they were, just in terms of like match momentum and everything. It was a huge performance from them against a very good Uruguay team. So I think with Chile in town here, who have been absolutely awful in this qualification campaign, lost 6 of their 7 matches away from home, scored just once in those matches on the road, conceded 15 goals. And they're just I looked through their squad earlier, such an old and tired team. I was thinking maybe they're going to be some sort of youth coming through that have made their mark in Europe, but they're still playing Arturo Vidal. He's still kicking people in midfield at 38, and they've got Alexis Sanchez still leading the line at 36, and he's not scored in over a year. So it doesn't really look like there's much real talent coming through at Chile at the moment, and I just think they just want this qualification campaign to end. So I think such a good opportunity for Bolivia here to sort of reignite their hopes of maybe sneaking into a playoff place for the World Cup. And they beat Chile as well in a reverse fixture as well in Santiago 2-1. And Bolivia are terrible, notoriously away from home. So they've already got a head-to-head victory over them in this campaign. And yeah, I think I'd be back in that 1-4-3, anything down to sort of minus 200, I think, Steve. I think it's a real factor in this game. I don't think the price has moved enough in the right way here. So I'd back them all the way down to sort of 1-2. I'd be so shocked if they don't win this game with it all on the line, and they need to keep their hopes alive of making the first World Cup for a long time. I'm not sure when the last time they made the World Cup was. It must have been 90.
Bolivia or Chile?
Bolivia, 94, was it?
Gosh, it's
Might be longer than that. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It's been a while. I can't
was
remember.
94. It was the opening game in 94.
There we go. Yeah, so it's been so long for them to win a World Cup. This is such a big deal. So, but I think a way to maybe boost that price, if this is too short to get involved with, sort of minus 143, I would add their Bolivia to win the corner race as well into the mix using the same game parlay option through Bet Rivers, because they've won the corner race in 8 of their last 12 home matches, and I think we mentioned it a moment ago. They won the corner race against Uruguay 16-3. In their last home match, which is absolutely outstanding numbers. I mean, I'm not sure a team, I've not seen a team this season, I think, win the corner count that heavily in a game, certainly in domestic football that I've been analysing. So, really think that they're gonna dominate across all metrics here. Chile have only won 5 corners in their last 4 matches as well. They'll just want to get out of there. I think with just with maybe just that we will be able to catch their breath. Maybe that's all that they'll want to do. They just want to get out alive, I think, Steve, because this is such a difficult fixture for them to play in this sort of altitude. So I think they'll get dominated across every metric, and I just think the way to get that price nearer to even money is just to back Bolivia to have to win more corners than Chile, along with their win price. So yeah, really like Bolivia here. Really looking forward to seeing them in action again, because I've stayed up a few times quite late at night here this end to watch Bolivia this year with this altitude in their favour, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. I think we can find a nice winner here.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Bolivia minus 136 on the money line. I agree with you about the corners. I like over corners in this game. I think there's some generous prices over 9.5 corners. I'm just checking the latest price now. It's at evens now with Bet Rivers, and I'm even bringing the ladder out here, 10.5, 11.5, plus 150 and plus 230. What I know about Bolivia, when they get desperate, and they have been desperate in the recent home games because they've actually been in the race to qualify, is they shoot a lot. They fire from range everywhere. I mean, 32 shots against Uruguay. There tends to be a lot of shots in their home games in the recent ones. And when shots are firing in, deflections happen, saves, desperate clearances, things like that. You could also look at Bolivia, just individual corners here, to be honest with you. Chile, like you say, one away goal in qualifying. That's pathetic, isn't it?
It's incredible for a nation. Some of the striking talent they've had during my upbringing, Zamorano and Salas and things, players like that. I mean, to score 1 goal away from home in qualifying for a team with this sort of international pedigree is absolutely bonkers. So it just shows you where they are as a nation in terms of the players they're developing. They're still holding on to the old boys from the previous generations, and they're not going to be able to handle it in the altitude, are they? No chance.
What is the highest place you've actually ever been on Earth, Lewis?
Oh my God, what a good question that is.
Because I tell you, for me,
I don't think I could tell you actually.
2,800 meters. I was in one of the mountains in Austria. I mean, this is nearly, this is 4,100 meters. It's unimaginable.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
As soon as you land in La Paz, which is near El Alto, you're under significant pressure for altitude sickness. So, if you're not used to it in any form at all, it's shocking. And this is, like you said at the top of the show, it's a massive advantage. And incredibly, though, 54% of the money on the money line is on Chile. Who is backing Chile? I don't know anyone backing Chile. Do put it in chat if you're having a nibble on them. But 68% of the tickets are on Bolivia. More money on the under for this game. There was several mentioning Bolivia a win and like under 3.5, under 2.5. Bolivia win to 0. I mean, you can't knock that, can you? With Chile's away.
No, those were on my short list. Both those ones under 3.5. Bolivia win and the both teams to score no and Bolivia to win, or Bolivia to win to 0. So I tried just to weigh that, boost that win price up. I think that those are definitely runners as well. I just like the corners angle most, just because of the data was sort of screaming at me to include it. I think you have to in a game of this sort of one-sided nature, and hopefully it takes a bit of time for Bolivia to find a way through, because they're not, as you say, they are quite a sort of chaotic team. They sort of feed off the atmosphere that they generate in their home matches, but they're not the most sort of cool, calculated team. They do take shots. They do go a little bit crazy at times. Very emotional team, so they might take their time to just break through Chile. So hopefully that'll be the corner sorted if they can put them under pressure early and maybe rack up a few corners and don't get the goal until the second half, and that'd be perfect for the game state in terms of what we're looking for. But yeah, I like the under 3.5 and for Bolivia to win, and also the Bolivia to win to 0. Couldn't quite get there myself. Would rather add the corners into the mix. But if that's the way you want to play it, absolutely go for it, I'd say.
The two most wagered games on international soccer today by handle is Brazil versus Paraguay and Argentina versus Colombia. I did search high and low in these games to find a bet, but I couldn't find one. And if you can't find one, then just don't bet. Argentina are already qualified, which for me, that's already alarm bells. Colombia pretty much there really as well. Difficult game. Brazil, of course, under new management, Carlo Ancelotti, ground out a 0-0 draw in his first match. My gut instinct tells me Paraguay plus 1.25 on the Asian line might be worth looking at. But in Ancelotti's first home game, let's just see if there's a galvanizing effect. I want to see more of this Brazil team under Ancelotti before I'm staking serious money on any of their games. The only other match that kind of interests me was Uruguay-Venezuela on under 2.5 goals. I know it's minus 167, but I can't believe I've never seen a Marcelo Bielsa side just struggle to score goals. He's kind of lost the dressing room there with Uruguay a bit after the Luis Suarez incident last summer. But they will keep him until the World Cup. He's given them some great moments, but they're not in a great phase. They should beat Venezuela, but Venezuela are fighting for their lives. Venezuela might enter the playoff. I don't know when the last time they qualified for the World Cup, if they ever have. They're absolutely going to be bang up for it. But I think there'll be a tight game, that one. Could see it being even 0-0. It was in the reverse fixture. Wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world. And Peru-Ecuador later on. The goal line here is 1.75 on the goal line, on the Asian line here, because Ecuador have kept an incredible number of clean sheets, 10 clean sheets in 12 games, and Peru have failed to score in 11 out of 15. So it's an obvious under, right?
Wow, that's pretty compelling, Steve, isn't it? That is, wow. What do you say about not overcomplicating things sometimes?
But then I was overthinking it, and I'm thinking this is the sort of game that maybe
now you're thinking overs,
I'm not going to get involved in it because I think Peru, they're still technically alive. They've got to win the game. There's no point in them battling for a 0-0 here because they could still qualify. So they've got to give it a go. We talk about old players. Paulo Guerrero's still knocking around, isn't he? For them, 41 years of age.
Really, 41 still going. That is amazing.
127. Appearances for Peru, 40 goals. We have got international friendlies in North America, just to touch on before we finish the show. USA against Switzerland, Canada, Ivory Coast, and Mexico, Turkey. I've got a goal scorer in the Canada game to talk about soon, but USA, Switzerland. Switzerland, the favourites here, plus 116. They just beat Mexico 4-2. They're having a North American tour, Lewis. I never really thought Switzerland had Switzerland down for that sort of team, but they enjoyed themselves in that match. They're the clear favourite here. A USA A side, which is apparently going to be heavily rotated, and looking ahead to the Gold Cup for them. Who's your goal scorer in this match?
Yeah, I do like back in Switzerland when, especially in the knockouts. Just in major tournaments, always get lured into them every single campaign. They're always not priced up properly, I don't think, because their ability to get out of the group is incredible. And they're just always a very reliable team, aren't they? Very good at developing sort of hardened international footballers, and I think they're developing one here in the shape of Dan Ndoye, who is a great bet tonight. I think if he starts in an advanced role, plus 350 to score any time, a really, really good bet. I think if he plays in one of the front spots, he can be ushered in as a wing back at times. So keep your eye on team news, see where he's playing. But great player, this guy, I think, and I'm very surprised he's still with Bologna. Actually, I think lots of their players have been snapped up over the past sort of 2 years, haven't they? But they managed to keep him. And I think he might be one of the most exciting of those Bologna sort of talents that they've got on their books. Actually, I think he'd be perfect in the Premier League. He's got great intensity, really good without possession, very, very direct with the ball, and he's ended the season in great form in Serie A. He's already got 10 goal involvements in his last 12 starts for Bologna, and he has only scored twice for Switzerland, which surprised me in 21 caps. But as I said, he has played wing-back on quite a few occasions for Switzerland. But the key thing here is he played advanced in the 4-2 win over Mexico last week, and he got his second international goal. And I think he's a player that is being priced up here based on the fact he's only got 2 goals in 21 caps, but he's a much more dangerous player than that. And he's going to be playing in a position where he should be to the fore when Switzerland create chances, and he's a very good finisher when he gets there. So I think, yeah, if Dan Ndoye plays tonight in this advanced role in the front three, plus 350 to score, yeah, I'll be having a bit of that. I think it's a great bet.
Dan Ndoye there, score any time for Switzerland. For me, in the Canada-Ivory Coast game, Kyle Larin to score any time for Canada, plus 220. Jesse Marsh has confirmed that there's going to be wholesale changes to the Canada team for this match, but he has confirmed that Larin will start up front and he will be the captain. That's good enough for me. If you're starting up front and you're captain on the day, you are going to be fired up in an international friendly at home, plus 220 to score any time. And then the Mexico-Turkey game, for me, this has got to be over 2.5 goals at minus 130. Turkey matches renowned for goals since the start of the Euros last summer. 11 of their 14 matches have gone over 2.5 goals. And we've just seen that Mexico fixture. Their last 9 matches have contained at least 2 goals. And that 4-2 against Switzerland suggests that they're just going to have a good swing about here in this international friendly window. If this was a competitive game at a World Cup, I would be smashing the cards. Every card line I could get, because these two sides, Mexico had picked up 4 cards in that friendly against Switzerland. What team gets 4 cards in a friendly
Mexico,
match?
Steve. Mexico, do.
Yes, Mexico. The card line, just out of interest for those here, is 3.5, and you can get plus money on over 3.5 cards for the match. Now, I wouldn't normally ever look at cards for the friendlies, but with Mexico and Turkey involved, Turkey were involved in that match last summer where there was 16 cards, I think.
Czech Republic was.
Yes,
Czech Republic in the Euros. Yes, it's one of my memories of the Euros, because I backed cards in that game, and I had a couple of very same game parlays going. And Thomas Souček somehow didn't get booked in the match. Thomas Souček, their captain,
the only player, then.
He was one of the only players, but he got booked just after the final whistle. It cost me about. I think it cost me about $8,000. I think that the fact he got booked after the full-time whistle, it doesn't count as a card because it didn't happen in the match, even though Opta had registered it. So that's you've just opened an old wound there, Steve. So thanks for that. You've just sprinkled some salt into some nice old wounds, talking about cards and Turkey and Czech Republic. So thanks for that. I'll enjoy my evening now. Thanks.
I have a habit of doing that, don't I? Sadly, there's quite a few comments going about here about USA not being, Byron saying the US absolutely sucks. There's a lot of, I don't know what's going to happen in the Gold Cup this summer for them, but they don't seem in great shape really a year out from hosting the World Cup. Need to get themselves sorted. They certainly wouldn't back them with any confidence, Lewis. I don't think right now.
I hope this is going to be. It's all be different in 12 months time, when the Pochettino probably knows the players a little bit better. He's going to have a system involved. The wave of momentum behind America next year, I think, for the World Cup will be a factor that could push the team quite far. I think the host nation they're always worth backing to go quite far in competitions, I think. So I wouldn't be too down on Pochettino to get it right eventually. I think he's a very shrewd operator, isn't he? He's been there, done it. He knows about international tournaments as well. He played in enough of them for Argentina. So I would be more positive. Yeah, the form again at the moment in this period, where do the matches really matter at the moment? Probably not. He'll get them right for next summer. I think Pochettino. I think he knows. I think he's a very shrewd appointment, I think, for this team, and they got a good spine there of players, and they should be able to raise themselves for a home World Cup and do okay, I think. So I wouldn't get too down at the moment on the Americans.
It's kind of the first rule in the book, isn't it? Don't bet against the home nation.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why I did my money on Qatar a couple of times in the last World Cup. Byron's taking pizza money on those cards. I think it could be for a friendly quite spicy. I don't think Mexico and Turkey ever really do friendly. They're always the matches just matter to their countries. Certain countries, every single it's like football's a religion for certain countries, and I think those two kind of fall into that category. I really like the over 2.5 goals in that game, SW, that is for sure. That will do for today's show. Reminder, you can watch some of these on the live stream today, including Bolivia against Chile. You've got to watch that one.
Yeah.
And someone was asking about the altitude in the second half, and producer Troy was mentioning going to the top of Whistler Mountain. Altitude is definitely a thing. In the past, we've seen teams with gas masks and everything. I'm not even joking here. On the sidelines there in Bolivia, and that was just La Paz. This is even higher.
Well, I think didn't FIFA ban Bolivia from playing there, because you say it was
a year or two, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then they reversed the decision again. Yeah, it's an absolutely massive edge. That obviously is factored into the price to a certain extent. Is it factored in enough? It's a very tough one to price up, I think. But I don't think in this game state scenario where they need to win against the worst team in the qualification group, I think their price is backable at the moment.
Is that the best bet of the day for you then, Lewis?
Yeah, I think so. I think you've got to keep it simple sometimes. I would, Bolivia to win. But if you want to get near even money, Bolivia to win and win most corners in a same game parlay. I
do agree with you, Lewis. I think it is the best bet of the day as well. Bolivia, raw. We are all in on them today. Okay, so coming up in about an hour's time, Betting Weekly Tennis Live, got Nigel Seeley and Rory Giuani checking out the start of the grass court season on the tennis. And then later on, we have got Betting Weekly Hardball, Betting Weekly Fast Break with Doug Kazarian. Those guys have been in great form, as I said yesterday. And then, of course, for the remainder of the week, tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live, we've got Simon Holden's going to be joining Dan Roebuck for a US Open golf preview. The third major of the season is upon us. And then Friday, we've got the World Cup preview. Like I said, me and Lewis are going to be joined by a new debutant on the show. But it's been great fun as always, Lewis. Great discussion, and good luck with all your bets today.
Thanks, Steve. Yep, come on the Bolivians. Just hope that altitude is in their favour once again, and the edge hasn't been factored into the market enough.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone who joined live or on demand. Beninda, the cards match that I mentioned there was Mexico-Turkey. But yeah, we'll catch you all. I'll be, me and Lewis will see you on Friday, but do join all the rest of the shows today and throughout the rest of the week. Remember to gamble responsibly. See you next time on Betting Weekly Live.